You have big dreams of losing weight and creating a healthy, joyful life. But you find yourself craving sugar, caught up in what the scale says, and diet hopping. Dieting is the old way of losing weight. And the good news is I'm going to give you a new way of eating so you can ditch diets for good and build a healthy relationship with real food. My name is Megan Olson, certified nutrition practitioner, creator of Skinny Fitalicious, and your host of the Dish on Diets show.
Hello, friends. Today I've got another special guest on the podcast, my client, Karrie. Karrie came to work with me in January of 2023. We ended our coaching in February 2024, and it's now September 2024. So Karrie's going to come talk to you today about her 35 years of dieting, a lot of it with Weight Watchers and other types of programs. She's going to talk to you about how she used to live and die by the scale and how her perfectionism was always getting in the way. Karrie lost 24 pounds while we were working together, but she also dropped 2 pant sizes. So one of the things we talk about in this podcast is why the scale doesn't always reflect the changes that our body is making. Sometimes the scale stays exactly the same, and this is why we always take measurements. So Karrie's going to talk to you about that and why the scale really isn't as important as she once thought it was. So hope you enjoyed today's podcast. With that, here's Karrie. Hi, Karrie.
Hello, Megan.
How are you doing today? Thanks for being on the podcast.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Outside of having a little bit of a cold, right?
Yes, I have a little bit of a cold, but that's okay.
That's okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And why don't you just kind of give the listeners a little bit background on you and your weight loss journey and how you came to work with me?
Sure. So I'm 51. I'm from Indiana. I work in the medical field. I stay pretty busy with work and family. I've been on a weight loss journey for, I think I calculated 35 years. I first started when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
I went to Weight Watchers at 16. And I've been to Weight Watchers so many times, I can't even count anymore.
Wow.
I lost track a long time ago. I did all kinds of diets. You name it, I probably have done it. I've done some phentermine medicine to try to lose, the Atkins, different keto diets, worked with some dietitians. Nothing really ever stuck.
What do you think was the missing thing? Like what was the problem with all the things you tried before?
I think I just didn't have the right mindset. I always felt like I needed to be perfect. Many times when I did Weight Watchers, you have to track your food in a tracker. Well, if it didn't fit into my tracker and my points for that day, I just didn't track it. Mm-hmm. Well, clearly I ate it, and I just like I had to be perfect and had my tracker be perfect to be in the program. And obviously that didn't work well.
Yeah. Did you lose weight with those programs, by the way?
Short term, I would lose weight because in the beginning, I'd be gung-ho and do everything perfect and do everything that I needed to do, but it just wasn't sustainable over time. So then I would see the weight start creeping back and become frustrated and then eventually just quit doing whatever I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that went on for many years, huh?
Many, many years.
Okay. So how did you end up finding me? I don't remember.
So I actually, you popped up on my Instagram and I started watching the Instagram reels. And then I listened to a couple of your podcasts and I thought, I think she actually might know what she's talking about. I think I could reach out and at least do a consultation and see if it would be a good fit.
So you did the consultation and then the rest is history, right?
The rest is history. It's been awesome ever since.
Well, that's good to hear. So talk a little bit about what were some of the things that we worked on for you?
So the big thing was the mindset. When I first started working with you, you told me we're not going to lose weight right away. And Of course, I was like, oh my gosh, what? That's what I'm here for. And you said, no, trust me, we need to do mindset first. And you were absolutely right. I would have never been where I am now if I had not done the mindset stuff at the
Mhm.
beginning. I had to change. I always thought, like I said, I needed to be perfect and I needed to do just so, but I had to work a lot on that.
Mhm. Yeah. Can you give an example of like where you had to change your thinking around being perfect?
So I was always afraid of making not really a mistake, but kind of maybe having a little falter with food and maybe it didn't work well for me or I would gain weight. The scale was definitely my enemy. We actually didn't do, you had me not weigh for probably a couple months.
Yeah.
Um, we just didn't do the scale because it was so detrimental to me every time I would step on it. If it didn't say what I wanted to say, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Um, so I just think, I had to do everything just so in that if I ate too much or if I went over my calories, I think actually I never went over my calories. I was actually really under my calories because I was afraid.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And you were tracking in my fitness pal when we were working together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, I'm still tracking because I'm not exactly where I want to be yet,
Yeah.
just to kind of see what I'm doing. I don't track every day, but I still track.
Hmm. Do you still do things like you did with Weight Watchers, where like if you ate something, you don't put it in the tracker?
Absolutely not. I put everything in there because by tracking it, you can learn from it. I can see what's
Ah.
going on and I'll know, okay, maybe the scale's up today. Well, look back at my tracker. Well, of course it's up today. I had more salt or I, did this, or maybe I had a little bit more calories. So I use it as a tool now rather than just as something that I look at as being, I have to be perfect.
Yeah. That is the mentality a lot of people have with tracking. They think they have to be perfect, right? And then they see the scale go up. And then even when they think they have been perfect, they're like, oh my gosh, why did the scale go up? I was perfect yesterday. I was perfect last week.
Yep. I've definitely learned to use it as a tool, as I have learned to use the scale as a tool. It's not an end all for me anymore. It's just a way to measure things.
Yeah. So kind of walk us through like what are some of the things we worked on? We first worked on your mindset and kind of working on your meals and stuff. What else did we work on after that?
So we worked on just making sure I had enough protein and fiber and that I actually talked nice to myself. I wasn't very good about being nice to myself. Um, I would mean stuff to myself or I'd put myself down. And so we worked a lot on, how would I talk to a friend? Would I talk to a friend like I was talking to myself? Um, and the answer was no, I would never talk to my friends the way I talk to myself. So then why was I talking to myself like that?
Right.
Um, so I actually have been very good about being nice to myself, enjoying where I am, and um, knowing that I'm strong and that I can continue on this journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So we worked a lot on your mindset. We worked a lot on getting you the right nutrients to keep you full. And you did a really good job with that too. You really kind of embraced that. And I think once you start feeling fuller from having those good balanced meals, I think some things try kind of changed for you, right?
Indeed, they did. I think before I was really hesitant to eat very much at a time at a meal. And so then what happened was I would just eat more throughout the day rather than just eat more at the meal.
Right.
So by prioritizing my protein and my fiber at the meal and making sure my meal had everything that I needed, which I was kind of a low carb person before. So we introduced carbs into my meal plan. It would keep me satisfied, and I was able to not eat in between meals and not be ravenous at nighttime and not try to eat everything at night.
Yeah. Are you still doing that, by the way, now?
I am. I
Oh,
am.
wow. Good. Good.
It's worked well. I actually just got back from vacation. I was on vacation for 2 weeks in Europe and I didn't gain an ounce. I maintained the whole time. And it wasn't that I didn't eat and enjoy myself. It was just that I still prioritized my protein and my fiber.
Yep. 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 And for those listening, Karrie and I worked together. I think we started working like January of 2023 together, something like that.
Yes.
And we ended early this year, like January, February 2024, somewhere in there.
Yes.
Right. So it's been a while that you've been practicing these habits, like a good year and a half, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So when we came to the body fat loss, like what did we do and what did you learn?
So we first had to figure out what my maintenance calories were. And so I had never done that before. So once we figured out where my maintenance was, and then we decided to subtract however many calories from that, then we would only go into a deficit for 12 to 16 weeks, which I had been used to always being in a deficit.
Ugh.
Right. And that's why I don't think it was very sustainable in the past. So this was a whole different game. It was, your maintenance, and then you can go into a deficit, but then you have to go right back into maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I enjoy that. And now I look forward to the maintenance because that's when I can actually do heavier lifting in the gym and build more muscle. And know the next time I go into a deficit, I can hopefully lose more fat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So we spent some time being in a deficit and we did not spend all of the time being in a deficit. And I think that's one thing I just want to highlight for the people listening. That's one thing I think a lot of people do wrong. They are constantly dieting all of the time. Like nobody can live like that. That's just miserable.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
You know what I
not.
mean? So yeah, for you, it was like 12 to 16 weeks. And then we worked on, let's just hang out in maintenance and work on our strength training, work on building some muscle. You had to make some changes in that area too with exercise. Can you talk about that a little bit too?
I did. So before I started working with you, I actually did tons of cardio. I did triathlons. So I was doing tons and tons of cardio and could not figure out why I was gaining weight when I was working out constantly. Um, so when I started working with you, you told me, we actually need to strength train and build muscle and back off on all that cardio. And actually, I remember on our consultation, you said, you're probably not going to be able to do triathlons for at least a couple of years. We got to get this under control. And I thought, oh, hopefully I can do that. But I said, okay, let's try it. And honestly, this has been the best. I enjoy doing lifting in the gym. So I actually got a personal trainer. We lift heavy in the gym. I've built so much muscle. And feel so much better without doing all that cardio.
Yeah. How were you feeling before? I mean, if you were doing a lot of cardio and eating low carb, like how were you feeling?
I felt awful, but I didn't realize I felt awful.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I wasn't sleeping well. Just, I was dragging throughout the day, probably because I wasn't sleeping well. And I constantly felt hungry, but I didn't realize that I felt that bad until I took it away and started doing the strength training.
Mhm. Mhm. And do you do like no cardio now?
No, I still do a little bit of cardio.
Yeah.
Um, but I do mainly strength training 5 days a week, and then I'll do cardio maybe a half an hour a few times a week, but I don't overdo it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not like you were doing before.
Definitely not like I was doing before. And I walk every day and I make sure I get at least 10,000 steps a day. When I'm in my deficit, I up my walking so that I can get more steps. And that actually has helped the most when I'm in the deficit.
Mhm. Yeah. So we spent time right up front working on your mindset, getting you good balanced meals so you're fueling your body well. Then we spent like time in a deficit and then back in maintenance. And you got a personal trainer and kind of rebalanced your exercise, if you will, and started working on the strength training, but you're still doing some cardio, still prioritizing the walks. And then we did another round of a deficit. So maybe talk a little bit about what happened with the scale, because your scale weight was pretty interesting, like when we went from that first deficit into the second deficit.
Yeah. So, when I was working on my mindset, my weight actually increased,
Mm-hmm.
which was, in the beginning a little nerve wracking for me, but you told me hang in there, it'll be fine. And it was. So it actually went down, but I don't even, I think I lost maybe 24-ish pounds total during our time together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it didn't go down a whole lot, but I could definitely see body composition changes. Um, I did build some muscle. Um, and I did do fat loss. I mean, I've gone down in pant sizes, a couple sizes in pants, and the scale just wasn't that big of a deal to me anymore. It was just a measurement tool.
Yeah. What was interesting about your first round of deficit is your scale weight did not move that much.
Right.
And it's, from my perspective, it's because you had a lot of opportunity to build muscle and you had started working on that strength training component. And so the thing is like as you're building muscle and losing some body fat, it kind of negates whatever's happening on the scale. And I remember you and I having to talk about like, hey, and not a lot's happening here, but that's okay, right? Because it's our first deficit. And also we know you have room for opportunity to build muscle and you have been doing that. So we saw your measurements were going down. You knew your clothes were going down. I think you even told me people at work were telling you like you look so much different, but you couldn't believe that the scale really hadn't moved much.
That's correct. Yes. People were saying, oh, it looks like you're losing so much weight. And I thought, no, actually, the scale's the same, but, okay. But my body composition was different.
Yeah. Could you ever imagine that would have happened?
No, no. I mean, in the past, it was live or die by the scale.
Yeah.
Whatever the scale said, that was what would trigger either my good mood or my bad mood. I would have never guessed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And your second round of deficit, that's where we did see the scale move a little bit more. And I think, if you're okay with me telling people what your scale was kind of like in the 200-ish something, 220 or something, I think, when we started. And you said, I think when in your second deficit, that's when we saw it go under like 200.
You are correct.
Something like that. Yeah. But your inches were always going down. So we knew we were doing the right stuff because you're losing body fat, even though that dang scale wasn't necessarily catching up with us. But it did in that second deficit.
It did. It did.
Yeah. 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 So now you think totally different about these things, right?
I totally think differently. Yes. I'm more into body composition than I am into what the scale says.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good stuff. Do you want to share like what were your results? Do you remember what your results when we ended coaching?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Okay, so I have them. I wrote them down before we got on the call. So you lost 10 inches around your waist, 8 inches around your hips, 6.5 inches around the bust, and you lost 5% body fat. And about 20, you said 24-ish pounds or something like that, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So those were like major, major changes. It was awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So how do you think that this was different? Like you look back at Weight Watchers, what was different?
Oh gosh. I think just having the mindset, changing my whole mindset, being nice to myself, and just learning over the journey that I didn't have to be perfect. I could learn so much by not being perfect. I could grow and be a different person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And was your life entirely perfect while you were trying to make all these changes and do these things? Like you had nothing came up, no vacations, no stress, nothing.
Absolutely not. I did go on vacation. I have work stress every day. But I just learned how to handle it differently. And, you know, I will say that you kept popping in my mind, and you still do. When I'm having a bad day, I just have to think, put my heck in check, my hunger, my emotions, and my cravings. Like, where is this coming from? Is it that I'm truly hungry, or am I just tired? Do I just need to go to bed? So that's completely different than any weight loss that I've tried previously.
Yeah. 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 Well, in Weight Watchers, you definitely live and die by the scale, I feel like, too.
Oh, you definitely do. You have to go to a meeting every week and step on that scale in front of somebody, which is nerve-wracking. And so you definitely live or die by the scale.
Yeah. Which isn't really helpful, right? I mean, because if you're working on changing the body fat percentage and your body composition, it's not really helpful to only look at the scale because a lot
It's
could influence it.
correct. Correct. Because just like I didn't lose a whole lot of weight, but I lost a lot of inches.
Hmm.
And so if I just went by the scale, I would feel like I didn't do well, but I know that I did great.
Hmm. How many pant sizes did you lose, by the way?
I went down 2 sizes.
Good. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. And you have hypothyroidism,
I
right?
do. Yes, I do.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it. But I always thought, before I would blame my weight gain on my hypothyroidism, but honestly, there's a way around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're not eating like a small amount of food either. You're eating a pretty substantial amount of calories, as I recall.
Oh gosh, yes. And actually, so I haven't been in a deficit since we worked together earlier this year. I was originally going to do a deficit this summer, but I just decided I wanted to enjoy my summer and
Hmm.
not be that restrictive. And I actually went up on my calories by 200 calories a day and
Wow.
have been in maintenance and have not gained by doing that.
Wow. Inches have stayed the same and scales stayed the same, basically.
Yes, yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. Yes. So, see the magic of building muscle?
Right, right. And just being able to eat more feels freer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and bodies operate better too on more calories too. So you feel better. That's the other bonus, right? If you're not fueling your body with enough calories, and we can kind of get used to it. It's like to your point earlier, you don't realize how bad you feel until you start doing something else.
That's exactly right.
So now that you're eating more calories, it's like, wow, I didn't realize how good my body could actually feel. But
Exactly. And I have way more energy. I can do way more and feel like being even more active than I have been.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just so happy for you. So you've come so far. I remember day one when we first started working together, and that perfectionism, you were really stuck in that, and we had to do a lot of work on that. But you were really open. Like you knew you tried all kinds of other things, but you were like, okay, I'll listen to what you say, and I'm going to try it, and I'm going to do it, even though I don't know if I exactly trust this.
That's true. That is true. And I remember I was even close to tears by telling you I wasn't perfect on one of our first calls. Um, Looking back, that's silly of me to have been like that, but I would just thought I needed to be so perfect, but you were so great and just
Aw,
helped me through that.
aw. Yeah, we have to let go of the perfectionism. That's a big thing. I'm glad that you talked a lot about that today because I do see that with a lot of other clients. So I'm sure that'll be helpful to people who are listening. Like, hey, being perfect is probably actually working against you.
That's exactly right. You
Yeah.
actually learn when you're not perfect.
Yep. Yep. That's how we learn.
That's right.
So I guess like based on everything that, we've been working on and doing, you're still doing all of these things even after we ended our coaching like what, 9, 10 months ago?
Exactly. Yep. I'm still doing everything. I'll eventually go back into another deficit when I feel like the time is right. Um, but I'm doing everything. I make sure I have my protein and my fiber, get my steps in, all the basics.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Good. So I guess, Karrie, you have been there, right? You've been on that side and you've been on the other side of this now. So other women who are out there like you, who probably feel a lot like you did back before you started working our work together, right? What would you say to them? Like, what advice would you have for them? What should they work on? What should they do?
I think first and foremost, you should just be kind to yourself. Like I said before, I was not nice to myself in any way, shape, or form. So be kind to yourself. Just know that you don't have to be perfect, that you can make mistakes or not really mistakes, but you can do things that maybe don't help, but help you in your weight loss journey, but then that's what you can learn from that. And there's always hope out there. I mean, you can do it. If I did it, anybody can do it.
I say that too. I'm like, if I could lose 80 pounds, anybody could do it, surely.
And I mean, it's a process. It's a long journey. It's not going to happen overnight. So you just have to be patient and know that, be happy with where you are. And that's what I've learned to do. One of the big things I wanted to do was to be able to travel, make sure that I fit well in the airplane seat. And like I said before, I just got back from a 2-week vacation in Europe. I traveled. I'm doing everything that I wanted to do, and it feels great to have my life back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. It holds us back from so many things.
It does.
Yeah. Well, Karrie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and sharing your experience, your advice, what you learned with other people. I really appreciate it. I'm so dang proud of you. You came so far in your journey. I just think that, I just wish you all the best going forward. And if you ever need anything, I'm always here, but I know you're going to do amazing. You got these good habits, you got this good mindset, you got a good foundation, and now you just keep practicing it.
Thank you so much. You just have been such a lifesaver for me. I just can't tell you thank you enough.
You're so welcome, dear. Well, thank you. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, you have to come check out my free weight loss class. It's the 5 steps to lasting weight loss, how hormones impact weight loss, and the truth about lasting weight loss without relying on willpower, workouts, or deprivation. Click the link in the show notes to watch that free class today. And if you are a woman over 35 with 20 to 50 or more pounds to lose, schedule a free weight loss breakthrough session with me after you watch that class. And let's talk about your 20 to 50 or more pound weight loss plan.